Hello and welcome to this video on the writing guidelines for your writing assignments. What I would like to do is briefly go over all of the 10 guidelines. You can think of these as rules for your writing. The first one is brainstorm. Answer the questions or question on a sheet of paper before you begin writing. Basically what this means is that you should think about what your answers your answers to each question or question, depending on the prompt, should be even before you start to write down everything. So that basically means that you have thought about your answers and maybe made some notes with the key points for each answer. So that's all that brainstorming means. And most of your writing assignments will have multiple questions, so you should do that for all the questions. Second is rewrite the prompt in your own words. You don't really have to worry about this one unless maybe if you don't understand some parts of the prompt, then you might have to rewrite it in your own words. But otherwise, this one is something that you can skip. Once again, unless you're really having a hard time understanding the prompt, in which case I will explain it anyway. So number 2 is not too much of a big deal. Number 3 is get to the point right away. Let me move back up to number 3. Get to the point right away. This basically means that you should not have long flowery kinds of introductions. So, for example, if we have been reading about a particular philosopher, you don't have to go into the philosopher's life or anything else. You could just start by answering whatever the first prompt question is, or whatever prompt question you decide to answer first. You can get to that right away. Number 4, organize ideas. Use paragraphs as units of meaning. So, what I have in mind here is basically making sure that each paragraph has a main idea. You can use topic sentences to express that main idea. I am not saying that you have to have topic sentences, but thinking along the lines of topic sentences is very helpful in terms of making sure that each paragraph is focused on one thing. And that's exactly what I mean by organizing your ideas, because if each paragraph is organized into one main idea, possibly expressed by a topic sentence, then that shows organization overall. Number 5, transition wherever possible. Number 5 is also related to organization, and that's because when you have transition sentences, and these are usually going to be at the end of a paragraph, it could also be in the beginning of another paragraph. When you have transition sentences, it shows overall organization for your paper as well. So an example of a transition sentence could be something like, I have explained this specific concept of utilitarianism, this specific theory of utilitarianism. I will now give some concrete examples. That is an example of a transition sentence, and that sentence bridges 2 paragraphs together, but overall it is serving an organizational kind of purpose. Number 6, use your own examples wherever possible. So concrete examples are very good tools to use in terms of showing that you understand a philosophical concept. So if you were, for example, explaining utilitarianism, this ethical theory, you would use your own examples you would do it in the application part. But basically, an example would be a time in your life and your experience where you have done something morally right in accordance with utilitarianism, or what utilitarianism prescribes by maximizing happiness. And you would describe that specific example. Maybe you gave a lot of money to a charity and that maximized happiness for a group of people. that would be a concrete example. So concrete examples from your own personal life are better, but feel free to use examples from movies, from stories you've read, or novels. The concrete examples can come from anywhere, but again, it's important to have them to show that you understand the specific philosopher or the specific theory. Number 7, the first paragraph should in some way structure the whole paper. What I mean here is that the first paragraph should kind of be like an abstract that gives a kind of a summary of the whole paper. Notice that this is also another organizational point, because if you can have a paragraph that that shows that's an abstract that basically shows everything you're going to be writing about in the whole paper, then again that shows overall organization. And number 8, don't include anything that's irrelevant. There will be a lot of things that we'll talk about throughout the term, and some things are interesting, but they're not always directly relevant to your writing. So make sure that whatever you are writing about is relevant to the questions that are being asked, or to the question that is being asked by the prompt. And number 9, address all parts of the prompt. So as I mentioned earlier, there will be some prompts which are going to have multiple questions, maybe even up to 5 specific individual questions. And what you should do is make sure that you're answering each specific question, that you don't skip specific questions. In fact, going back to a point about organization, you could use the questions to structure your paragraphs. So for example, you could decide to have one paragraph address one specific question in the prompt, or you could maybe address 2 questions in one paragraph. But notice how you can also use the questions to guide your overall organization of your paper. And then the last thing is pay attention to word choice. A wrong choice of words may look like you don't know what you're talking about. Philosophy involves a lot of technical vocabulary, and those technical terms will have specific definitions. So just make sure that you're using the definitions correctly, that you're using the words correctly. A misuse of words can make things a little bit difficult to understand, and so that's what number 10 is referring to. Okay, that is it. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about your writing assignments.